So I have a lot to say about aliens. Bill Cooper was interesting. He used to work for the government, and he said that he was in the Navy, and he used to see spaceships come out of the ocean and take off into the sky. And him and a guy that were witnesses to that, you know, the big guy surrounded him and were like, you can't tell anybody about that, and you didn't see anything, and you didn't see anything, and you can't tell anyone or break your confidential agreement and stuff. I'm going to talk about Roswell. It's weird, I just had a dream about Roswell. Just a brief conversation, and we're looking at Roswell, and someone asked me, did a spaceship land there? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it did. And they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, well, you can't get anywhere near it. You can't get anywhere near Area 51. So if nothing happened there and they don't have anything, then why are they hiding it? They're hiding something very intensely, and it's E.T. It's E.T. related. Yes, they did land. They got technology from the aliens and, use it to make war machines and bad things. And the TV is bad, your cell phone's bad, and people laugh at me when I say that. Technology is really swell, especially if you're like me, and I use this technology for all kinds of awesome things that you couldn't use. You didn't have this stuff before. But then there's bad things like tracking and weapons and other things, hypnotizing and, being addicted to your cell phone and Facebook and the TV. And, I tell you what, I knew someone that was just so addicted to TV, and they lost their TV and they lost their basic channels. And that person was so lost without that hypnotism that they would just sit there and stare at the blank screen, even though it wasn't on. Now that's a serious addiction for like half an hour straight. And it's like, why don't you get up and do something? It's like, damn, you are addicted. You're so addicted to it, you're just staring at it, but it's not giving you what you want. It's not hypnotizing your brain and making you forget about life. I have a lot to say about E.T.s, man. I've never seen one in person. I've had dreams about them. I'll just go from personal experience first. I saw a UFO in Arizona. That was my first one. It was 5 a.m. My mom woke me up and said, you gotta come out here and check this out. Because, you can see a lot of stars down there. You gotta come out and check this out, And I go out there and it's like red. It's like amber. She goes, it's not making any sound. It's not making any sound. I'm like, no, it's not. And it's big. It didn't stop. It just slowly moved through the sky. It never stopped. It didn't zig and zag. I saw, on my drive to work, I saw a big white one, big bright white, and it just hovered out kind of by the country off to the side of the freeway. And I saw that guy like 3 times in that same spot in 3 different nights, just sitting there. And one time I had my daughter and her friend in the car, and I said, that was like, I'd seen it a few times. I go, you guys look. I go, look at that. Do you see it? They're like, yeah. I go, see how bright it is? They're like, yeah. I go, is it moving? I go, watch it. Is it stationary? It's just it just hovers there. I said, it's not moving. That's not a plane. It's too bright to be a plane, and it just sits there. It just hovers. And we watched it from the time it showed up till the time we drove way past it, and that thing never moved. Never moved. I saw that guy like 3 times, and one time I saw it opposite. I go, wow, there's another one on the other side of the freeway off in a field, hovering, bright white, from the same clan, interested in that area. And way later, it wasn't too long ago that they had a story about UFO sighting in that town. I won't name it, but in that town. I go, yep, I've seen that guy like a few times, really interested in that area for some reason. Don't know why. Other people even saw it. They even put it in the media about it being spotted. And I was like, yeah, that's no news to me. But I want to tell you about another weird thing. I was up in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't in the city. And I saw one during the day. And it was like a flicker flash. It was almost like somebody, somebody had a mirror and would switch that mirror and SOS you really quick. And it went flash. And I think that was a cloaked spaceship. The ones during the day are cloaked, but for some reason I saw that mirror flash go chink, and I went, whoa, dude, I saw that. And I was out in the middle of nowhere. So that's weird, because I don't know if I was the reason it was there, but I saw it. I saw the reflection, and I think it was a cloaked UFO. during the day. But I found it really interesting because there's nothing up there to be interested in there. There's nothing, no people to check out really. But I happened to be there and I happened to see it. And I saw another daytime UFO when I came back to the city. Same thing. I could not see no spaceship. It was daylight. The sun was shining. And I was just, driving, looking up. And all of a sudden I saw a flash, like a mirror. Just for one flash, somebody turned that mirror just right. And it went flash. And I was like, I saw it. So I think they got them during the daytime, but they're cloaked. But if the sun hits it just right, you'll see a quick flash, and then it's just one flash of that mirror, woof. And but it's so weird the one out in the country because I'm like, wow, man, are you guys checking out on me? Because I wouldn't see any other reason for it to be up there. Another thing I want to talk about is in the movies, they always talk about bad aliens. Aliens are bad. They're bad guys. They're evil. They want to invade us. They want to kill us. It's like, yeah, if there's aliens, man, they would have already killed us all and shown themselves, killed us all, and took off. But I think that there's good guys and bad guys. There's good guy aliens, there's bad guy aliens. But in the media, they never, ever, ever even mention there being good aliens. In the movies, they're just bad, and they want to eat you, and they want to kill you, and they want to take us all, and they want our planet. And that's bullshit because they would have already done that. They got way more technology than we do. So I heard about this theory, and that was really interesting, that Eisenhower, after the Roswell, was confronted by good guy aliens, more humanoids that looked kind of Nordic, and was also confronted by gray aliens that were reptilians or fallen angels or, bad guys. And that there was a deal made, the good guys say, hey, look, we want to take you guys, we want to lift you on the next spiritual realm, we want to evolve you to the next spiritual realm of love and goodness and earth and harmony and nature and spiritual. But that the Greys said, hey, well, look, we'll make a deal with you. We get to experiment on you. We can snatch your guys, we can tag your guys, we can, do breeding experiments with your guys and all kinds of experiments. And what we'll trade you is we'll give you our higher technology. The theory was that Eisenhower's like, nah, I don't care about the spiritualism stuff. No gain, no profit in that. But said, yeah, to the great aliens, said, yeah, go ahead, observe them all you want. That's why they haven't shown themselves. Go ahead and observe them all you want and experiment with them all you want, cut them up, impregnate them, take their organs, because we want that technology, because we want more war machines. And we love our military. We love our war machines. We have so many war machines, it's just ridiculous. So the theory was that he said yes to the bad guys and took the technology and lets them experiment on us, but they're not really allowed to show themselves. They're not really allowed to cause a scene, and they can erase your memory sometimes, most of the time. But pretty much told the good aliens to screw off, and we don't want that. There's no profit. We're not interested in the spiritual junk. That makes a lot of sense. The only movies I've seen good guy aliens in is AI. At the end of AI, the robot boy's frozen at the bottom of the sea or something, and they get him, and because he's a robot and he has all the memories, in his AI brain, they're like, wow, there are no humans anymore, and you're the only ones that's got those memories and camera and video, and they're good guys. At the end of, I think it's Indiana Jones Crystal Skulls, there was a bunch of good guy aliens. They were good. They still looked like Greys, but they were good guys. E.T. was a good guy, and there's good guys in Cocoon, and there's good aliens in The Abyss. Water. There's another theory about there being a pyramid, which is weird because I heard that theory about there being a Merkaba, a pyramid in the bottom of the ocean under the Bermuda Triangle that's, everything disappears there. But I also heard a theory that there's aliens that live under the water, like Bill Cooper said, he saw a spaceship coming out. These guys live under the water, like the Abyss people. And I had this game called Shrill, the Mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, and people don't pay attention when they're playing games that stuff, they tell you things that are really going on. It's just same with the TV, they'll tell you stuff that's really going on, but you just think it's part of the storyline and blah blah blah, and back to the game, you're missing their hints. But there's maybe aliens that live under the water. There's a legend that's old. They're called the Dogon people, the fish people, which the Pope hat is a fish head. It represents the Dogon. There's other cultures, that are really remote that are like the fish people god, the Dogon god. The Starbucks mermaid is a Dogon, and she has. It's weird. This is what I know about Starbucks. She has a pentagram on her forehead. Okay, but it's not upside down, but it's still a pentagram. She's a Dogon, and she has her fins raised, one fin on this side, one fin in the having sex position. So, and not only that, Starbucks means the bucks for stars. Everything that Starbucks makes, which is why it got so popular, goes to Israel. Israel has the star. Bucks for star. Starbucks. Star money. Money for the star. The star may represent Sirius. They're really into that Sirius star. The Sirius star system. Sirius B. There's Sirius A, Sirius B. And it's real because when in your cable, when you're listening to the music stations on demand, the satellite is called Sirius. Sirius star station, this, Sirius is real, and there's people that worship Sirius. I don't know if it's just a E.T. star that there's some E.T.s from, or if that's represents Lucifer as Sirius. I'm not sure. Another thing is Latin is the ancient language. There's a reason why Latin got fleshed out. All the bad guys, like the immortals, the real vampires, the real immortals, and the real Freemasons, the ancient stuff, there's a reason why Latin got fleshed out. It's like nearly impossible to find Latin, learn Latin. Latin was buried on purpose, but there's a lot of people that still use it. There's a lot of people that still use Latin, but they're like kind of immortal vampires. They're kind of really, really higher up, or they're really angels and demons way back. Like there's a reason why they wanted to hide that language. It's an ancient language. There's power in that language, and they hid it. They buried it, and they're like, don't let anybody learn this language. This is our code language from the old days, old school. So there's a reason why Latin is kind of buried on purpose. I have dreams about good aliens. Every alien I've seen in my dream has pretty much been good guys, and I only see them for a minute. Those aren't ever long, prolonged dreams. I had a dream about, after my father passed, that I was hanging out with him, and there was this man, and he looked humanoid, but he was actually a hybrid, and he was messing with his technology and computer, and he didn't talk very much, and he was really into whatever he was doing, and he kind of came down from a spaceship and was hanging out with us and working on his stuff, and it was kind of funny because he had a bag of things, but he looked just like a human. He was a humanoid, but he was actually an E.T. mix hybrid, and he calls me over to the computer. I'm like, yeah, and he barely talked, and he said, hey, he goes, there's going to be a comet that's going to hit between the UK and us on the East Coast. There's going to be a comet that's planned, and he didn't clarify whether that means God's going to plan this to come, or we shot something up into space that we're going to purposely make come down. It wasn't verified whether it was God planned it or humans planned this, but that it was going to come down, and maybe that's what takes out the East Coast, because there's a lot of theories about something happening with the East Coast, whether it's ocean or it still hasn't happened. But what was really weird about that dream is that alien guy he liked me, and it was kind of neat later thinking about it. I was like, wow, dude, a hybrid alien that likes me. He was checking up on me and telling me about the comet, and then he had to go away for a while, and he had a bag of stuff. It was really funny because I saw in his bag, and he had a carton of Camels. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like aliens smoke Camels? They smoke cigarettes. Well, he's a humanoid alien. If you smoke Camels, I guess. Left me smokes. But I don't think I was supposed to be digging in the bag. But anyway, and then I saw this that's got circles and balls inside of it and lights, and I have no idea what the hell that was. It was this creepy little clear ball. I don't know what it was, but way later in a video game, it might have been one of the first Assassin's Creed, I'm not sure, they talk about the real story of Adam and Eve and the apple. They got this apple, and your DNA is compatible with this apple, and the apple looks like that clear scary ball, dude, for real. I was like, wait, I had a dream about that clear, scary ball that they call the apple in that game. Strange. With the vampires, man, there's really people that drink blood, make pacts with Satan, and kill people and drink children's blood to get longer life or immortality. But it was weird because I saw a movie that was talking about there's a vampire virus, you know, kind of like Lost Boys. You kill the head vampire and that strain of that virus dies, and you can be half normal. You can be bitten and be half and half good guy, half bad guy, but whoever that strain of vampire made you immortal came from has to die, and it kills the virus. That was just interesting. My mother had a pregnancy that disappeared. She was pregnant, and then when she took it again, she wasn't. But she saw aliens out of her window once when she was a child. I've never seen them in real life. She also had missing time, where like all of a sudden, you know, they're like, where were you? You know, like hours passed. But I haven't had the same experiences that she did. My alien guys, you know, first I had the hybrid one, and I had one that me and my cat, weird, like I wake up, I'm on a hospital bed, like a gurney bed, I guess, and I'm paralyzed. I'm awake, I can see them, but I can't move. And my little cat, who is 17 years old, she's an old cat, she's healthy, was on a little gurney next to me with an IV too, and she was kind of frozen like me. And I wake up, and there's this squid. There's an alien that looks like a squid, kind of like an octopus squid. I'd say it looks more like a squid, that stood upright. And there was a gray alien too, and there was a third guy that was on a different bed, like he'd been abducted too, but I didn't know who he was. I never seen him before, you know. I don't know who that was. And the squid guy like slowly crept over him, like with his tentacles, you know, like reached over him and like covered the guy, the human man, and ate him. Dude, ate him. And I'm awake and I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't know if it was voices or telepathy, because a lot of people say that E.T.s talk through telepathy. Plus I couldn't move, I was paralyzed, so if I couldn't move, I probably couldn't move my mouth, but my eyes were open, I could see him. I don't know. But anyway, I'm like freaking out, dude, because this squid just ate this guy. I mean, I didn't see it, you know, he just kind of covered him. He just covered him and just kind of munched on him. Like once he was covered, I didn't see any brutal, he just ate him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you're not gonna eat me, are you? And he goes, no. And I'm like, but you ate him, you know, when you ate him, you're not gonna eat me, right? He goes, no, I'm not gonna eat you. And I'm like, well, you ate him. And he goes, well, I wasn't supposed to, but he tastes good. Like, he likes the way they're not supposed to eat us, but they like the way we taste. How creepy is that? But he's like, I won't eat you. And he didn't. And the gray alien says, no, that was a different dream. I had a third dream, and they told me that I was correct about they alter the weather, that they are controlling our weather by spraying and cloud seeding and earthquakes. They're controlling. You're correct. You know, he said you're right. They're controlling the weather. And pay attention to double dates. And on 2/22, Christchurch, New Zealand had an earthquake, and on 3/11/11, which is another double date, there was that tsunami that hit Japan, and I knew that was rigged. Because the aliens told me, dude, they're the ones doing it by HAARP, but they didn't say the word HAARP. I already knew about HAARP. And I'm going to talk about aliens as fallen angels, because I believe in angels and demons. I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to aliens, because they could be fallen angels, they could be Nephilim, they could be Satan's seeds, the watchers from the Bible, that the fallen angels weren't supposed to mate with mankind, but did, and kind of spoiled a bunch of stuff, made giants and Nephilim and hybrid. I don't know, you know, some people say, you know, they're reptilians, or they're Satan seed, or the watchers, or the Nephilim. My contradiction to this fallen angels is being, even if aliens are all fallen angels, they're not all bad. The offspring, there's some that are just advanced, you know, the Egyptians were advanced and Atlanteans were advanced. Some are good guys, some are bad guys, hybrids. But they don't want you to think about aliens as being good or at all. They want you to think they're all evil, they're all fallen angels, or they're all bad guys. And I don't think that's true. I don't know if it's just good, demons and angels, or there's E.T.s that are good watchers and ones that are bad watchers. I'm not sure. The movie Howard the Duck, because here's the portal with the hydrogen collider, and there was a movie that came out about all these superheroes, and this guy has a scepter, and they got this portal on the top of the building. Well, this movie Howard the Duck had a portal to demons that reminds me of the hydrogen collider, kind of, and they might open that and bring down all the falling angels are going to show up on Earth soon. Or they can have a false rapture using holograms. I think they're going to do a false rapture and then a fake. In the Bible, the fallen angels are all going to show up, and there is going to be a real one too, a real war. I heard a theory that capstone that's under the pyramids, that I always thought was demonic, and I don't know what Lucifer's connection and what's up with the pyramid. But I heard a theory someone threw out there that was really interesting, that only somebody who is chosen by God, who has the keys and the wits to be able to get in there, just like that video game that had the clear scary ball, says, be careful, this might turn into a UFO, because they're down in the pyramids. And maybe the capstone is underneath, and maybe it is a spiritual pyramid or a physical pyramid, or both. But I thought it was interesting that that's one theory I heard said, no, the good guy is supposed to be the one who opens that and unleashes it, and they have to use that to fight the demons that are coming down and fight them off and out of this realm. That's interesting. Good guy theory about that. But I keep hearing about that capstone and that it's a UFO in some way. I didn't really get to finish my alien stuff, so I'm going to finish it now. There's a whole different subject I want to talk about that's one of the most interesting things that I've found. Nobody really knows about this. They keep it a secret. They don't want people to ask questions about this specific thing. And what it is it's a Rh negative blood type. Only 15% of the entire world has a Rh negative blood type. It's rare. What a Rh negative blood type means that most of the world is Rh positive, but 15% is Rh negative. And what that means is that in your DNA marker, there is no link connecting your DNA to the DNA of a rhesus monkey. So Rh negatives don't have the link that the positives have that link you as an ancient ancestor or connected to the rhesus monkey. And if a female that's Rh negative gets pregnant by positive blood father, science has to intervene in order to have this child. You have to have scientific intervention to have this kid. So when you're giving birth or close to, you have to have what's called a ROGAM shot. They're giving you a shot that keeps the negative blood type body from building antibodies and rejecting the fetus. And I found that interesting because scientifically, the female who's a negative blood type, their body rejects a person of positive blood's fetus as a foreign species. The body will kill that baby and build up antibodies against that baby, so that if you get pregnant again by a positive, it'll kill the fetus even faster. So that's a huge mystery that they don't want you to know about. Most Rh negatives don't know they're Rh negatives. If they get pregnant, it's like the doctors, it's really weird, they don't talk about it. They kind of cover it up and they're like, oh, we just got to give you the shot because you're negative, they're positive, and that's all you know. There's only one time in nature that this occurs naturally, and it's when you're trying to make a mule. It's like a mix between a horse and a donkey, okay? You can do it one way, but you can't do it the other way, or the same thing happens. The mother will reject the body as a foreign species and reject the fetus. So you can make mules one way, but you can't make them the other way, or the same thing happens, and that's the only time in nature that this occurs. So the conclusion that gives me is that, look, horses and donkeys and zebras, man, they look alike, but they're not the same species. And I think, so that says is that, what that proves is, we might all look human, but we're different species. Some of us are a different species from other humans. The negatives are different species from the positives, or that wouldn't happen. I've always wanted to ask someone who is into the Bible, someone who's biblical. I want a biblical explanation for this. I already have the scientific explanation for it. We look alike, but we're not the same species. Otherwise, it wouldn't reject the fetus and then build antibodies to kill the next fetus of a different species even faster. Biblically, I wanted to know, in the Bible, the word blood is used more than anything else, and God continuously says, I want your people to stay away from these people. I want these people to stay away from these people. I don't want you marrying into their customs and picking up their gods and yada, yada, yada. But also in the Bible, it talks about fallen angels that fell in love with women, mankind, women, and mated with them and made giants, made Nephilim, made watchers, or is Satan's seed. There's a lot of things that they've been called in the Bible. The offspring of fallen angels, the seed of Satan, Nephilim, and the watchers. They made giants, like there's that at first they were like giants, and they, Goliath in the Bible was one of those, and he was a giant. And through time, just like the pharaohs, if you look at some Egyptian stuff, they claim, the theory is that some of those pharaohs were actually really super, super, super huge and tall, because they had demigods, they're demigods, half and half. In the conspiracy stuff, some people say that they're reptilians. I don't know about the reptilians, maybe, because Rh negatives have a copper in their blood, which would be like the line of the snake, which is, fallen angels, which is possible. I've never seen a shapeshifter. I've never seen anybody turn into a reptilian, but it may be kind of related to the fallen angels and the copper, whatever. All the royal family are negatives. Most of the presidents are negatives. The pharaohs were negatives. It's a special bloodline that may be from fallen angels, and they don't want you to know anything about it. It's very, very, very secretive. But if you have two parents that are both negatives, and they have an offspring that's a negative, called blue bloods. And I know that you've heard that phrase because it's the TV. There's a show called Blue Bloods, and a blue blood is a negative child of a negative and a negative. And most of the time, that baby doesn't survive. Like, a lot of times they're born, stillborn. They have a lot of traits of, E.T. experiences, psychicness, ESP. Sometimes they call them star children or indigo children with psychic abilities. But they don't want you to know about that. And that is, it proves that we might look alike, but we're not the same species. So we might be, the negatives might be hybrids. I wouldn't really, they could be hybrids. If aliens are fallen angels, then that would be a hybrid. But it got interesting because I wanted to know more, trying to solve the mystery of Rh negatives. So in the planet, the most populated area of negatives is in Basque, Spain. Right by the coast, there's this little pocket with a super huge concentration of Rh negatives. I'm in America, and I'm Rh negative. I have a lot of those traits, but it was interesting. Anyway, I wanted to know where's this come from. So in Basque, Spain, there's a high concentration that's next to the coast. And that shows me that for some reason, that's where we came from, and the rest of us kind of branched off or had, ancient relatives that came from there, that descended and moved around and moved here and had more children. But you need to understand that you pretty much have to have a negative father to be able to have a negative child. If there's a negative female and she gets pregnant by a positive father, the baby is going to turn out positive, and the female is going to have to get a shot to prevent the body from dying, the fetus from dying. So it's interesting. Nobody knows about that. They keep it really secret. Nobody thinks about that, but there were different kind of species going on here with humans. This is also what I looked at. I dug and dug and dug trying to figure out the mystery to this. We came from Basque, Spain. The Rh negatives come from Basque, Spain, and that happens to be by the coast. You need to remember the story about Atlantis. They use it in movies all the time in the media. The Freemasons are infatuated with Atlantis. They make, Assassin's Creed, Atlantis. They put Atlantis and Sirius and Atlantis in a lot of stuff. Stargate Atlantis, they're obsessed with Atlantis. And Atlantis was a city that was a lot like ancient Egypt, where they had superior technology and knowledge and stuff. So Atlantis and the ancient Egyptians were definitely connected, and the pharaohs were negative blood types. A lot of the elite and a lot of the royal family and the presidents, they all come from this special bloodline. The rest of the RH negatives are actually connected to that bloodline, but that's not a good thing, because it makes the rest of the RH negatives are actually from the same family as them, but it does not protect you. It makes you their threat. They want to wipe out the negatives to keep all the money in the family and in their family of RH negatives, but we're actually connected to them. We have a special blood type. Blue bloods, man. That's what it is. And if you've ever seen the show Heroes, about these people with super powers and stuff, and they could prick your finger, because there comes a time where they have to run, and they prick your finger. Well, the people that don't have powers, their test turns blue when you test, or red when you test their blood, but the ones with powers, it'll test blue if you're an RH negative, if you're of that special blood type. So because the RH negatives have the copper and they don't, it's different it's a different kind of blood, and it doesn't mix with the rest of them, except O negatives are like this special, whether it's alien design or God's design or something. O negatives can put their blood transfusion, they can put their blood into any blood type and it takes it with no complications. It's a universal blood type. It's a superior, it's a very helpful blood type. It goes into all bloods with no complications, but the rest of them you have to have unless you're taking, anyone that's taking a blood transfusion can take an O negative, but they can't take any other negatives, and the negatives can't take anything but their own. O negatives can only take O negatives, or there's complications with the blood. The blood fights, it doesn't get along. It's a big mystery that no one knows. So this is the conclusion that I've come to, the conclusion that, and also in the Bible, in Noah's flood, God tried to wipe out all of Satan's seed, all of the fallen angel seeds, all of the Nephilim, the demigods, but they still live. So maybe not everyone was wiped out at the flood, but it survived. But also Atlantis was sunk probably by God, probably drowned it, man. But I don't know. So they're still like, we're not sure where Atlantis is, and there's lots of theories of this here and there. I'm telling you what. So all the arrows point that RH negatives are an ancient bloodline of demigods or Nephilim. It doesn't mean that they're all bad. There's good guys, there's good guys and bad guys of that blood type, and I don't think that God thinks they're all evil. It depends on what your heart is, if their heart is good and they're a good guy, then you're going to be judged on that. My conclusion with RH negatives is that RH negatives originate from Basque Spain, and I'm pretty much sure about this, is that Basque Spain is right by the ocean. So I think that when Atlantis sunk, I think that some of them escaped and they ended up in Basque Spain, and that's where we come from. So I think the RH negatives are actually Atlanteans, ancient Atlantean descendants. But that's my conclusion. I'm not going to talk about aliens anymore. I want to talk about one more thing that I forgot to put in my What's Up, and that's symbolism that's everywhere. You'll see a lot of logos that have one eye, and one eye represents Lucifer. In the Bible it says you need to know that he is one-eyed, the all-seeing eye, like on the back of our dollar bill with the one eye and the capstone. And there's a lot of logos of companies that have that one eye. There's a ton that have pyramids, which represents the pyramid. And there's a ton that, in Hebrew, the letter V stands for 6, okay? You know how in that V for Vendetta, he goes on a V spree and he's like V, 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 V. Well, every time V equals 6, so he's like actually saying 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So look at, there's an experiment to see if I'm full of shit. And okay, V does represent 6. So the next time you see a Chevron sign, if you look at the Chevron sign, it has 2 V's. It has a blue V that's just barely tilted in the middle. It has a red V, and then it says Chevron, and in the middle it has another V in the letter Chevron. So it actually says 666 on Chevron going down. These are, see for yourself. symbolisms that, because the Masons, the Freemasons, own all these corporations, and they put their satanic stuff in symbols, and people don't know it or don't see it, but I'll show you. So another symbol that I want to tell you about is the symbol for Baphomet. Baphomet is the hermaphrodite goat god that's satanic. If you just look up a picture of a pentagram and it's got that goat head with the horns in the middle, that is Baphomet. That's Baphomet. And a lot of Lady Gaga videos have the goat head and the big horns, or Madonna's wearing something and it's got horns. Beyonce has a suit in one picture where it's like, she's wearing a suit that looks like a motorcycle with these mirrors, but it's actually Baphomet, which is satanic. That's another symbol, because, see for yourself, the symbol for Toyota, it has that circle, and then it has that other circle. That is a Baphomet goat head symbol with the horns. Mazda is a goat head symbol for Baphomet. You'll see a lot. I don't know if it's INFINITI. You'll see, look at the car symbols. Look at the car symbols, man. They're symbols of Satanism. Okay, it's either Baphomet with the goat head, or Dodge. That's another Baphomet. There's ones that got pyramids. There's a lot that have a pyramid in the name, or Kia, but it doesn't have a cross for A. It's a pyramid, which is Satan, whatever the connection is. Oh, and now that you know that V equals 6, VW, VVVV is 666. And that's a see for yourself. They own everything, and it's satanic. It's either going to be Baphomet symbol, it's going to be a pyramid symbol that has no crossing of the A, or it's going to be, what did I just say, sixes, like Chevron. Dude, it says 666. Hebrew, V is 6. VW, it says 666. So see for yourself, and there you go. And I hope you keep listening to the rest of my series, because I'm getting close to being done, and I appreciate you lending an ear, whether you disagree with my subjects, whether you don't believe this, or you could not believe anything I'm saying, but I'm still hoping that you make it through and just hear me out, and God bless you.